Whatua Orakei.
Reno Turakadni.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker. Tēnā rā koutou i te whare. Kia koutou, Ngati Whatua Orakei, nau mai haramai raro i te tuanui o tēnei o tō tātou whare pāramata. Tēnā koutou, huri noa, tēnā tātou katoa. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to make a small contribution to the second reading of the Ngati Whatua Orakei Claim Settlement Bill. And this has been a really momentous treaty settlement day that we've had today. So, I'd like to mihi to the Minister and to all the other contributors that have been speaking to these bills today. As Ms Delahunty mentioned earlier on, Mr. Speaker, all of this treaty settlement process goes back to Te Tiriti o Waitangi. And I like to go through history, but we do know that the Ngati Whatua chiefs signed the Māori text of Te Tiriti on March the 20th of 1840, after which a delegation of chiefs invited Captain Hobson to make his capital at Waitemata, which he did in July of that year. In September of 1840, the Crown had negotiated 3,500 acres of land, which is now where Auckland Central stands today. The chiefs of Ngati Whatua Orakei invited Hobson to the isthmus in the hope of benefiting from living in close proximity to Pākehā so as to benefit through trade and commerce. Over the next 2 years, the Crown purchased another 29,000 acres for £650 so as to facilitate land for housing of the new town of Auckland. However, it wasn't long before breaches of the treaty started to appear, and the anticipation of working in partnership with the Pākehā never realised. Between 1844 and 1845, the Crown gave up its right of preemption to allow direct dealing of land between the Māori and the settlers, and provided regulations to protect the Māori in these transactions. So very soon Ngati Whatua had become virtually landless through lack of government action, and in some cases some very dubious actions on behalf of the Crown. So as I said before, the expected benefits that Ngati Whatua would attain through their relationship with the Crown and the new town of Auckland never eventuated. And this is the same modus operandi as has been covered in some of the earlier bills which have gone through this House, Mr. Speaker, and it is regrettable. In 1846, more land was taken to form West Auckland, and by 1855, just 15 years after the signing of Te Tiriti, Ngati Whatua had barely 700 acres left in their estate. But later, even those reserved lands were lost. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased that we are reporting back on this bill. This bill contains a comprehensive series of acknowledgements by the Crown where the treaty was breached, and in the Crown's dealings with Ngati Whatua Orakei. The Crown will apologise for acts and omissions that left Ngati Whatua Orakei landless. That landlessness led to the breakdown of the social, cultural, economic and spiritual and physical structures within Ngati Whatua, which left them in poverty. So the apology also records that the Crown intends to improve and strengthens its historical close relationship based on treaty principles with Ngati Whatua so as to lay a solid foundation for the future, and I do commend that. I guess, Mr. Speaker, on the Select Committee, as we heard a number of submissions at Orakei Marae, and they were all in relation to the narrow net property. So I will make few remarks on that, sir. The House may well be will be aware that we heard all those many submissions, but it was there when we were listening to those submissions, sir, that we saw really what is the real ignorance and mean-spiritedness of some elements of Pākehā, New Zealand, in relation to the narrow net property. And the submissions made as to why Ngati Whatua should not get narrow net back, and the arguments that were put forward by the Devonport residents that they had somehow become an iwi of their own, and that somehow the principles of the treaty should apply to them as well. I mean, these were the many submissions that we heard from Devonport. But I mean, all of that talk, it was really, it was a cheek, sir. It was a real cheek to hear. And they threw the book at us in terms of every conceivable argument or scenario that they could paint. But it was absolutely regrettable. And it is regrettable, Mr. Speaker, that, you know, we got an insight into the window of the attitude held by some Pākehā with regard to the treaty and to the claims process in general. Some just don't want to see settlements proceed. The Devonport Māori population is significant, Mr. Speaker. It is a significant Māori population when all of the Navy ships are in port. Because when those ships are in port, the numbers dramatically rise, and we get a town full of Māoris. The Navy and the Defence Force in general is a fine employer of Māori, around 22% of the Navy. So I'm not too sure if Devonport has a kohanga and a kura kaupapa in that leafy seaside suburb, but I suppose when Ngati Whatua comes into town, I hope that is the case. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased that the Select Committee, under the very capable, excellent leadership of Tau Henare, that very speaker-like in his control of our committee, very speaker-like.
What do you think about that, Boris? Three-way secret ballot.
So we considered all these submissions, Mr. Speaker, but notwithstanding all of those submissions and all of the concerns that were raised, I'm very pleased to say that no recommendations were made around to amend any of the provisions around the purchase of the land of Narrow Neck. And I'm very pleased that we held firm as a committee in the face of all of those many totally off-mark submissions to ensure that this was preserved and can continue through this House. And so I'd just like to mihi to Ngati Whatua o Orakei again. Ngā mihi aroha kia koutou katoa. And I'm looking forward to, we're on the home stretch, and I'm looking forward to ushering this bill through its final stages. And I'm mihi to you all, and also to the members of this House. Happy Treaty Settlement Day. Kia ora no tātou.
David Clendon.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker. Kei te mihi o te rā, tia koutou.